And we're live. Hi everyone, and welcome to one of the last talks on IT Arena online stream talks. Today we will be talking about the cybersecurity issues, and we're on the verge of IT Arena 2022 in Lviv this year, and we're streaming live from Lviv, Ukraine. My name is Yaroslav, and today I will be moderating our discussion with our great speakers, and today we will be focusing solely on the whole history so far of the cyber part of the war that is happening right now in Ukraine. And we'll be talking, the name of the talk is, to be precise, Cybersecurity for Resilience and Fortifying Ukraine's Defense. And today we will be talking not only about defense, we will talk a lot about defense too, some steps that should have been taken or are taken already, and we will discuss it with our great speakers, which I want to introduce right now. We have Andriy Moskalenko, Deputy Mayor of Lviv, with me offline today. Also, we have Mr. Kenneth Geers, VP at Very Good Security, a former employee of NATO, and the person who will ask today a lot of questions, because recently Kenneth released a great report describing the whole situation during the cyber war in Ukraine from the 21st of February. And also we'll have today with us Mykhaylo Kropyva, InfoSec Director at SoftServe, who will cover a lot on cybersecurity issues from the corporate perspective, how our companies, IT companies in particular, faced the threat and are fighting with it for more than half a year already. And to remind to everyone who is watching us that IT Arena 2022 will happen this late September. We'll also have Kenneth visiting Lviv this year for the conference. He will be participating in one of the great panel discussions that we will have at the conference this year. So if you want to join the conference or see more details about it, please visit the website itarena.ua for more details. And everyone, if you hear me okay, let's jump straight to the discussion, because we have a bunch of questions, to be honest, to start with, but I want to start from the very beginning. I want to start from the February 24th, when the whole war started, and I believe cybersecurity part of it, cyber war of it, let's say like that, started even before that. And I think, Kenneth, we will start with you. And if you may give some notes, as you did in your report, regarding what was happening even before the February 21st, what was targeted the most, can you give us more insights on what Russia was doing at that moment?
Sure. So anything as big as a war or an invasion, is going to require a lot of preparation. And in cyber war, one of the things is you have to sort of hack in peacetime to get ready. You want to put destructive malware in place, and you want to collect strategic intelligence. Just Microsoft alone said it was following 6 advanced persistent threats, which means a team that is working for a nation state government, right? And 8 malware families for over a year that were focused specifically on supporting the invasion of Ukraine in February 2022. So there's a lot to do, and you have to get started early. On defense, I think that one of the biggest stories on cyber or computer network operations of the past 6 months is the advancement and the part of defense. And the ability not only of Ukraine to defend its computer networks, but to work with allies toward that end. And I'll stop there for now. Just I don't want to go too far, but I think when on February 24th, a lot of work had been done to put destructive malware in place. 10 days prior to the actual invasion, there were huge distributed denial of service attacks, and many more we can talk about. But basically, if you drop it on a timeline, you can see a lot of interesting dynamics in the lead up to the war that 1,000 PhD dissertations will be written on in the near future, because there's so much to learn. from what is happening.
In this context, you mentioned a lot was done even before the February 21st from the cyber war perspective. Can you elaborate more on what was done before, and let's say when you saw or you analyzed the main spikes of the cyber activity from the Russia side?
Sure. So first, there's the collection of intelligence, right? And the pre-positioning of specific malware that is intended to achieve certain aims. So on February 23rd and 24th, one of the things that we saw was that Russian state hackers had taken control of even Ukrainian military officers, their social media accounts. And so they were used in an effort to try and tell Ukrainian troops maybe that they should lay down their arms, that the war was over, that the president of Ukraine had fled and left Kiev. Citizens as well were told that the ATMs were not working, right? That it was a economic and social crisis as well, that they couldn't rely on the government. And so a lot of pieces were in place, including the taking control of accounts, and then messages sent to Ukrainian population as the war began. So on February 23rd and especially February 24th, you see a shift. Also, right about that time, there is a shift from denial of service attacks to wiping data. So many different types of wipers, specifically targeting the Ukrainian government, but also in the private sector. And these are you can analogize to to traditional weapons and say that some are more like strategic bombing campaigns or taking out the air defense, etc. But on February 24th, there's a shift to wiping data, right? And so that means, I delete all of the data on your computer, and then I disrupt the master boot record, which means that, your computer no longer has any data on it, and you can't even, rebuild it at that time without manual labor, right? So it's a destructive attack. Also on February 24th, there's several candidates for the biggest attack of the war. On February 24th, there was the Viasat attack, right, in which the Ukrainian government used this satellite modems for communication with law enforcement and military. So this was one of the big shots of the GRU, the Russian military intelligence at the beginning of the war, which was it's believed to disrupt the firmware on the modems so that they are unusable, right? They have to be manually rebuilt. So according to the Ukrainian government, there was significant and immediate impact on government communications. And this is also just 1 hour prior to the crossing of the border by the Russian military. So there's no doubt of who the attackers were, but of course the White House and others have been very busy and very specific in what's called attribution, right? And saying these attacks are run by the Russian military. Right. And so that's interesting because some folks and some papers out there for many years have wondered, is there such a thing as cyber war? Right. And cyber war, it turns out, may not be as decisive as we feared, or at least Hollywood has portrayed. But there's no doubt, given that the West, Ukraine, as well as players in Europe and in Washington, have specifically said these are computer network operations, hacks that were conducted by the Russian military to support Russian military maneuvers. So there is such a thing as cyber war. It's not just to run a DDoS against a bank or insert propaganda into social media, but it's also specifically designed to facilitate a military invasion. And we have certainly seen that in Ukraine.
I would agree on that, that from what we've seen even in the past years with the, remember the attack on the Ivano-Frankivsk energy plant, and we remember the virus named Petya that invaded the banking system. And this was quite different, I believe, more from the general consumer or citizen of Ukraine, how they felt this cyber attack on them. But two things to remember from your, let's say, intro words and from your report are that the actions of Russian Federation were mostly focused on empowering their military force, and maybe, correct me if I'm wrong, of course, but two main things, to attack the communication and to influence public and military opinion, to have fakes, to have false data given to the people who may have some problems with communication and really trying to reach out to their superiors. Okay, and we will go back to that because in the Kenneth report we will have a cool analysis on my thoughts on what was afterwards this. But nevertheless, let's move on to our to other speakers. Mykhaylo, I want to address you how the corporate segment, the IT business, faced the February 24th. What was before that? Have you felt any spike, any breaches, and how you proceeded from that?
Yeah, thanks for the question. So I can say that we feel a dramatic increase of cyber attack. It was, as Kenneth mentioned, like DDoS attempt or attempt to compromise our accounts. We saw that spike, but I don't think that it was massive attack focused on IT companies. So it's rather attention to government organization and to militaries and so on. So we are closing our cybersecurity operations center, closing dozens attempts each day, even hundreds, it depends. But the main focus is on our government, and some of my team members is mobilized as of now, and also we help a lot of organizations in Ukraine, and we saw this. So if you don't have like 24/7 cyber ops team and not mature security controls, it's quite easy to compromise your account and to convince you to click on some phishing link and steal your credentials and so on. That's what we saw massively before and during the war, including today's, I would say, time.
Just to clarify, have you been trying to prepare for any possible threat? Because we know that from December throughout January, beginning of February, all the public information about the war was growing, that Russia will attack, Russia will not attack. So how the business reacted from security perspective, cybersecurity perspective. So you were doing like your typical operations as you do every day, updating something, doing like as usual, or you had established any kind of as you mentioned, 24/7 team who was trying to moderate and monitor what is going on?
Yeah, a lot of precautions was done. It's more about business continuity and our resilience. So everything probably moved to the cloud. And if before that time we have primary node in Ukraine, just months or two before the war, we decided to shift our primary location and connection in Europe and United States, just having understanding of that threat. And also established communication between our leadership using satellite phone, which we can't rely on local internet providers or cell providers and so on. So that's something I'm observing the same activity related to another IT company. So everyone knows that something probably may happen with high probability, and just everyone trying to make that business impact analysis and business continuity in the right manner and ensure that we will not have impact on our corporate services and specifically client data.
Thanks, Mykhaylo, for your input. And Andriy, moving to you to try to understand the government, the local government perspective, how you faced the February 24th from the cybersecurity perspective. I know that I think it was the first day of the invasion. You wrote on Facebook that websites of Lviv administration are under attack, right? And you try to explain what is happening, what precautions are being done. Can you explain from the government side as I think one of the biggest victims of all of those attacks?
So, like at the beginning, we have to understand what the city is and why it should be under attack if enemy want to do this. And so, because that's what Russia started from. That what they long time prepared, but like it started new wave of this war, which we already have in our country more than 8 years. They started physical invasion, and they also started work on destroying system management of cities and also selling some information. Because why? Yeah, because what today's city is. City management today, it's workflow, it's hotline, it's mails, it's accounts, it's a lot of issues which our enemy wants to destroy. And so we hopefully, even till today, we approximately per month have more from 10,000 to 15,000 like threats per month on city council services, different services. But we hopefully we have, I suppose, a good team who work 24/7 since 21st of February, and so our website works, and so that's what you mentioned. It's connected to regional administration, not city hall. But question is, we really had a big attack, which was on Friday 13. So it was May, and the main target of Russians, it was to destroy system of management, because it was time. I have definitely. So it was 1463, because it was like idea to push this attack, and when all workers when they come to their working station in the morning Monday, so everything, the system have to be destroyed in one moment. But hopefully our team can block this at Friday evening. And of course that this attack was prepared really a long time, and they targeted to destroy system. And we even after that, when we blocked this, so also it was attacked. And so we approximately 3 weeks with help of state security service, with help of IT cluster, for what we really thanks with companies, SoftServe and other companies. So we really can survive in this attack. And so because the main focus it was to destroy a workflow, so we hopefully work in parallel way for this 1 week and a half. Also hotline, so we have also like a second version how it can work. Mail accounts, and so it was really our workers work more than 24 hours. But coming back to 21st of February, that's what we know right now. So it was information really I first time here will talk it publicly, that this attack which was at the Friday 13. This attack planned for morning, for the same time when Russia started physical invasion to our country, new wave of physical invasion. So it was approximately 5 a.m. So the same time when first missiles target to Ukraine, and this new wave of war, and the same moment was first attack, because I remember this very good, because when I came to City Hall, approximately 6 a.m., So we come to my working station, and so we see that it doesn't work. But at that moment, we didn't care about this, because we have to solve what to do, what next steps, how to organize, and so we didn't take to consideration. Our team was aware that can be some attacks, and so they block, and so we didn't care. And right now, when we have official report on this, what happened on Friday 13. On May, so we see that it was first time when this KD Viper was attacked on City Hall, and so they work and for a long time, and of course that we work on several lessons after this. I suppose it was the biggest attack on a city system of management and one of the biggest on all cities in Ukraine. Because amount of efforts which was invested in this, and it was really so huge. And so today we work every week with re-education of our workers. We work with some additional system of safety, and that's what we know definitely, that we today should have not only two copies of information. It have to be 3, 4 in different locations. It's connected to clouds, it connected to servers that would have to be saved. And so today we know very good lessons what to do. And but the main what I have to mention that what we in first several minutes do work very fastly, so we can block this. The result have to be that what enemies they plan, so it have to be destroy the whole system.
Thanks, Andriy, and really. You really touched the questions I had, and Tim, maybe you may help me in here before we move to the more juicy part of the defense and precautions that may be made. But is there any critical time to respond to a threat when you can again have the initiative, try to block everything, or really you just anticipate? You don't predict correctly, and you work with the damage you have, just damage control, if you may say so. So is there any critical time to respond to such kind of threats? It's for everyone, so just jump in and give us your thoughts.
So I can tell a story. I was the lucky analyst at the Pentagon who went in 2007 to Estonia to write a report. And that case was fascinating. It was a large DDoS attack, right, against government, media, and banks in Estonia. Most of the traffic was coming from the United States, right, at the beginning. And then it was filtered, and then it moved to Egypt and filtered, and then moved to Vietnam, etc. And so for the defenders, it was fascinating. Ultimately, they decided to cut off all international traffic and just allow Estonian IP addresses to connect to, let's say, banking infrastructure. And so it really required a lot of international collaboration and a lot of thinking on your feet. And this story actually was recently mentioned by a Russian official who said that, it was the United States that was attacking Estonia. So this hasn't been forgotten 15 years later. But it does take, a lot of brain power. I mean, cyber war is different from traditional war, and then it takes place, in an advanced, highly educated space and highly technical space. And so those are a different kind of warriors. And they need to probably, be trained to think about unexpected events and numerous ways to defend. And again, I'll say, I think that part of the story of this current war is that cyber defense has improved.
Thanks, Kenneth. Mykhaylo, yeah.
Yeah, just to add, so the sooner is better. So if you're speaking about our ability, it's better to prevent and detect on the reconnaissance phase. If attackers get initial access, or even worse, make the privileged escalations, it can be too late. But still, once you detect it, you should block it, and after that, provide your investigation and get rid of any CNC, like command and control centers, and found the beacon and reimage the impacted systems and so on. So your goal as security team to block everything on the initial reconnaissance phase and do not allow moving forward to your infrastructure.
Yes, and again, moving on from this question, how crucial it is to fast understand what is the main strategy of an opponent, right? So even Mykhaylo and Kenneth, you mentioned that you do investigation, this part of investigation, try to understand the control center and block it, let's say, forever. But can you, Kenneth, can you, Andriy, can you, Mykhaylo, really explain or give us some more insights on what the strategy, cyber strategy from Russian Federation looks like right now? Again, considering that previously we saw the attacks on critical infrastructure, on banking system at the beginning of the war, attack on communication, influencing public opinion. So what is the strategy right now behind it? And as Andriy mentioned, not so much time ago, Lviv was under a huge attack in the morning on the critical infrastructure. So can you try to describe how you see the strategy right now that is used by Russia Federation in this cyber part of the war?
I just can comment from my experience what I observing internally, having constant collaboration with our military. So it's a lot of attack focused on people itself, so military guys. So they just push in different ways via SMS, WhatsApp, Telegram, different ways to push you phishing links in order to click and to enter your credentials, to have access to military databases, to know location of your forces and military stuff. And this quite messy attack, I would say, on people that I see, like latest month, even today. And unfortunately, what I see, so the military, majority of military, they are not just security guys, they are not IT guys. So the awareness could be better, and there is no good time, right, to provide efficient awareness where you are fighting with guns. And we do what we can just to provide that awareness to the people and say, okay, just please do not click. So just validate and inform us as soon as possible once you click suspicious link, just to block your access, since it's about life. It's not only about system, right? If the enemy will know location of your military friends, they will put that missiles and they can be damaged. So it's a matter of life. That's why very important to provide that awareness, not only physically trainings, but that security awareness to the military guys.
Thanks, Mykhaylo. Andriy, Kenneth?
Yes, if I may say briefly, also want to add that quite important issue, it's really awareness. Because we, for example, when it was one of attacks on our city, when we destroyed 3 electrical substations, so we can feel this, we can see this, and so we know that will be troubles with electricity, but we can have the same troubles in providing services when, for example, will be blocked some services. And when we had that attack, so everybody feel okay that computers, they destroyed, so you can't have access to your information, it destroyed. Okay, that what we do together with the team, so that we can renew some information, so that we can do this old risk like as much as we can in order to fastly restart. But the most important question is that to be also aware today of this new potential threat, because I want to give one example that it's also really very new information that from the 1st September in a city we provided together with one of companies of IT cluster, Lviv IT cluster, a new system of e-diary for schools. So it's really great, my personal opinion, great system, because today we have education in our schools at this moment, hopefully offline, and like the main The main issue is that today we have approximately per one minute more than 64 million threats per 1 minute for this system, which works in our city only 2 weeks, yeah, and so even not the whole 2 weeks, yeah, like 1 week and 4 days, and so it means that we have this physical threat every day, yeah, physical, cyber, and so it's also one new field where we have to be aware that so it doesn't work when, okay, we blocked that what was on the main. No, on the second day was the second, third, first, it will be long way. And so in this issue, it's quite important to everybody, not only because that guys who work in IT, they aware of this because they work in this, but not the whole people work in IT. And the most threat can be from that who doesn't know how this system works. And it's quite important in order to give them from like one side we give what do when, for example, we have to provide like some first medical aid, and the same how we have to do what we have provided if, for example.
You mean like giving some trainings on self-defense in, let's say, internet for people is as crucial as tactical medicine for people. That's definitely a cool idea and project. I suppose we will try to work on that more. And Kenneth, jumping back with that question to you regarding the strategy, can you, on this stage, half a year past the start of the invasion, can you understand what is the strategy from cyber front from Russia Federation right now?
Well, I think that Russia strategically is, this is my personal opinion, is in a difficult, in other words, their strategies failed. So I think that they are probably unsure how to prosecute the war with a failed strategy, right? So they've changed their strategy and their focus, but I don't think it's going to yield better results given what they wanted, their hopes, right? So I'm laying a foundation first for saying currently, I think Russia doesn't know what to do. One of the things is cyber defense has improved. And part of that is international cooperation and collaboration on this issue. I think if you're sitting in Moscow, even if you have a clever attack, it's unclear currently where you're going to fire it, beyond Ukraine. I think probably that we have seen Russia's arsenal of cyber weapons because things are not going well for Moscow. Why would they hold it back, right? If they have some ace up their sleeve, I don't think they do. I think we've seen what cyber war looks like. And I think that, the ingenuity of Ukraine, and I think that the cyber defense evolution and international cooperation sort of have combined to make it difficult, right? So things like indicators of compromise, IOCs, these are things that cyber defenders share relative to the tactics, techniques, and procedures of attackers. These are shared so much more quickly than they were in the past. And I think that it's important to realize that attribution, in other words, saying who the attackers are, has often been a political question. We knew, 20 years ago in the Pentagon, I was, as an analyst, putting characteristics of attacks into buckets, right, for attribution. These look like Chinese hackers. These look like Russian hackers. But back then it was, you didn't want to burn your and on the internet, hackers in Russia and in Iran, China, and North Korea. And we got pretty good at this over the years, attribution. And I think now, never more so than in this current war, we have seen attribution very quickly published, right? In other words, it was hours, at the beginning of the war before the White House in a press briefing said, this is the GRU. The Russian military intelligence has launched this cyber attack. Never before have we seen that. And I think it's the result of years of strategic intelligence gathering. But the problem was important enough and the urgency was there that you wanted to, get a report out that day, naming the attacker, and that really helps. So one of the criticisms of attribution previously was it did little for defense. But in the current era, when post February 24th, when not only NATO, but the EU and individual countries, they really had a moral and ethical, question put in front of them, that day on February 24th, where do you stand on this issue? And it was clear, I think, for, countries and decision makers who are pro-democracy, pro-rule of law, and who do value what international organizations bring to the table. It was clear they wanted to work together to help Ukraine and to work together on cyber defense. And we really did see that from February 24th. And I think this has made it very difficult also for Russia to know whom to attack and how to attack when the IOCs, or the indicators of compromise, or the TTPs of Russia are shared widely in the West and very quickly. It does make it very difficult for Russia to pull off the kind of attack that it would like to coerce, France or Germany or the United States or Finland or Estonia to do something when they're all already on the same political page vis-a-vis Ukraine and Russia. I think it's very difficult. And so I think your question, what is Russia's current strategy? I think the Russian decision makers are in a very difficult position right now because their strategy has failed, and we've likely seen their cyber arsenal, right? And so I think we have to keep doing what we've been doing, is investing in cyber defense and in collaboration and in alliance-based response, not only reactively, but proactively, right? Looking toward the future, I think toward Ukraine's future, and toward democracy and stability and rule of law, moving, in fact, toward Moscow.
Thanks, Kenneth. So before moving to offense, I wanted to have this as the cherry on the top of our discussion today, the Ukrainians' offense in this cyber offense in this war, just to summarize what we have right now. So as we discussed, the main attack, the main focus, the main strategy at the beginning was to really kill the communications inside the Ukraine, to attack them, to attack the communication in the government, local governments, and so on and so forth, and to influence the public opinion, mainly targeting the military personnel at the first stage. Then, as Andriy mentioned, Lviv suffered and a bunch of other cities suffered internal attacks on their communication, trying to disturb the workflows that the city has every day and are used by a lot of people. And I think number 4 is that non-IT related people, it is a problem right now that they should also learn how to defend themselves properly in this cyber world. And from the corporate perspective, as Mykhaylo mentioned, so not a bunch of attacks were made. They're like every day. They saw some spikes, but they're well protected and trying to evolve every day. And if you may summarize this first part of the talk, guys, can you tell me like maybe few advantages, maybe top 3 advantages that you saw and you see in Ukraine's defense so far? Because one clear to me, and Andriy pretty much tell it, that the IT sector, the IT companies, they're working closely with the government, the local government. We see it not only in Lviv, but nationwide. The Project United 24, the army of drones, and so on and so forth, city generation. So what other advantages you see for Ukraine right now in this cyber war?
I can comment from my side what I saw, and it's really inspiring and even sometimes funny when everyone who knows more or less security, even not security professionals, but people who are just IT guys or developers or DevOps, everyone trying to be a part of that war. So starting from the first day, I received probably 100 requests how we can enter to IT army, what we can do. We are not security guys, but how to attack Russian resources. This was the most common question, specifically for first months. And we even trying to provide additional awareness. So guys, if you are doing right things, just do not do it from corporate network and corporate equipment. Just do not point back, to us. So that's really inspiring, since it's like our territory defense, like from military perspective. They are not militaries, but having that weaponized people, so everyone have weapon, and we will find till the end. And the same in this area. I saw a lot of like really professional reconnaissance in terms of Russians military and official government resources, which have been hacked for very short period of time. A very huge amount of data got leaked. You can see it in internet. So how many resources was hacked by Ukrainian IT army. And that's actually, for me, it's really inspiring thing. So it's not only about small group of Ukrainian militaries, it's about everyone in IT and security sphere to protect your country and to do what you can in order to protect and to help our country to survive and to win this war.
I can give that the biggest advantage of our advantage in this war which Russia started in our country is that what you can't buy, you can't value, because it's a power of unity. Because today our military, it's more than 40 million Ukrainians. It's militaries on different fields. And so yesterday I met with Minister of Defense of Ukraine, and so when he told that what today we think, so maybe I don't know how people feel this, but so it was real that Russians militaries who come to Kiev region, so they come with like official parade form, because they expected really on the third day to be with parade in our capital. And so everybody know what's the result. So with that enemies with that form, they were completely destroyed, because when the whole country in one moment become militaries, volunteers, and united, because is that what you can't cost and what you can't buy when you fight for your city, when you fight for your country. And so in that issue, so everybody have new skills, like new fast decisions, and the same in cybersecurity. And for example, that what we have to think about sustainable. So we have to aware that Russia is and every time will be the source of threat for not only for Ukraine, for the whole world. And so we have to become every day more with new skills. We have to also educate. For example, next week we will also walk in like a big gathering which provided our IT office, that we will also educate our like people from all over Ukrainian cities how to work with cybersecurity safety. And so we have to do this every day, and to be aware that we have to become more powerful from day to day.
Thank you, Andriy. Kenneth, maybe you can name a few advantages from your side.
So some of it, I think, is experience that no one else has. So, sometimes I see in the news that, oh, the United States is going to help Ukraine. Okay, but I think, in fact, Ukraine has so much to offer in terms of experience and expertise and creativity that it's going to be the United States that benefits from collaboration. In 2015, I was living in Kiev, and I did a book for NATO. It was edited, 20 authors and 18 chapters, and we looked at post-Maidan. We looked at attacks. I had Ukraine CERT, for example, write a chapter, and others. One of the things that most of the authors commented, this was in the middle of 2015, they're writing the chapters, was that there was no decisive cyber attack, nothing Hollywood movie level. But yet there were hundreds of examples of attacks. So one of the takeaways, sort of that I put in the introduction then, was that even though no one cyber attack is likely to be, decisive or overwhelming, there were examples of attacks in every space, in business, and of course in military, and in politics and diplomacy, also social media. And so to prepare for cyber war, you really do need an awareness campaign, right? And a general understanding that this one internet, this one cyberspace that we're all in, no matter where you are in the world, you have to understand the basic threats and how to respond when you see things that are suspicious. And this applies, for students and teachers, as well as military officers and diplomats, because everybody's a target, and everybody should expect some level of attack, because we know, and I can speak as an American, and the example of the 2016 US presidential election, that we know was targeted also by the GRU. Right? It was the GRU hackers who targeted the Democratic Party, stole documents, and then released them selectively during the election season. This is a fact. So how do this is a new type of warfare, a new type of attack that you have to be ready for in peacetime as well as wartime.
And as I mentioned, let's go to the ACC, maybe juicy part, the Ukrainian offense in the cyber war. And I want to start with Mykhaylo as one of the foot soldiers of the cyber army, of IT army of Ukraine. And Mykhaylo, maybe you can give us more insights. You've mentioned already how a lot of people, hundreds of people were messaging you, how they can help, how can they support, how can join, what they can hack. So maybe you can share a few operations that that maybe you were participating or about, again without many details, but if you can share some insights here, it would be great. And I just want to remind you, one of the cool operations that we know of is during the Independence Day of Ukraine on August 24th in temporarily occupied Crimea. We saw that in some cafes, businesses, companies, buildings, the Ukrainian national anthem was live. We saw that on some TV channels in Russian Federation. Also some Ukrainian news were popping up, and so on and so forth. So Mykhaylo, maybe can you give us more perspective on how the IT army looks from the inside?
Unfortunately, I can't provide that information since, to be honest, I don't know what is IT army from global perspective. It's everyone fighting in that field. And I just have my directions with my students, and people from my company and another IT companies where we're collaborating and have just our part, right? So I don't think there is like somebody who's supervising everything, but there are lots of leaders in that cyber sphere, and this is not me acting in that army, but we are doing the best we can in our field. So as part of our education program, so a lot of students just become cyber professionals, decided to become cyber professionals, and that's the trend I see in the learning directions we are supporting in Ukraine's university. So recently it was not so highly popular as now, and a lot of students asking how to do that hacking, not only ethical hacking, but real hack. Unfortunately, they can do just simple things like the DOS attack or so, but still they have their field and they can work under supervising of different, more skilled and mature professionals. And I would say that this is not only about hack. So I'm really glad that we have a lot of achievements here, but this is also about helping our government and organization become more mature and helping them to protect their resources using our experience, our knowledge, sometimes our resources where we can provide it during the board and say, okay, we can protect your resources, our people, our tool can help you in this one, or we can help you to establish this and this control to be secured. And that's also quite important and vital part for majority, I would say, government organization during wartime, since as you mentioned before, a lot of attacks were focused specifically not for IT but to government sector.
Thanks, Mykhaylo. Kenneth, from your perspective, even from your report that you made recently about the Ukraine's offense, so you had some cases there. Can you elaborate us more from your perspective, how you analyze it?
So I think the funny thing is there are so many things that they're examples of a kid, 12 years old with a drone, right, providing information on what they see that leads to the destruction of Russian military equipment, right? There's another story just in the paper this week, of using fake women's profiles, right, to talk with Russian soldiers, again, with the goal of, in part, of geolocation, right, of Russian forces who are occupying Ukraine. So there are many examples of hackers that are participating. One of the candidates for biggest hack, I think, would have been in the first days when hackers apparently disrupted the railroads in Belarus and perhaps in Russia that were trying to deliver troops and war material into northern Ukraine. So the battle for Kiev in the first weeks of the war, hackers may have played a tangible role in contributing to the failure of the Russian army to take the capital and to wind up in a situation in the infamous 40-mile convoy when they could be targeted much more easily because they were stuck. So it's funny, hackers, again, I'll mention the US politics. Were Russian hackers able to put a person into the White House? The answer is we don't know, but we know that they tried. If you drop the attacks on a timeline, you can see that there was a concerted effort to affect the US election. Same thing with, if you drop on a timeline, these attacks, February 24th, before on the day of and after, you can see, a specific dynamics of attacks, intelligence collection, DDoS, wiper, social media. And so there is a model that you can build around, hacker support for military operations. And so I think that one of the things, in answer to your question, non-state actors, there's been a lot written on potential contribution of non-state elements, IT Army, or Net Battalion 65, Anonymous. They are claiming to have commandeered thousands of cameras, right, in occupied Ukraine or Belarus or Russia, or taken control of sites or TV stations to deliver better information to average Russian citizen. All of these things, they add up. They really do. Similar to the book we did in 2015, there was no decisive cyber attack, but if you add up all of these examples, you may well wind up with a strategic contribution from IT security, computer hacking. And that's where I think that Ukraine, will really benefit from IT and computer hacking by nature being a lot more democratic than they are autocratic, right? We were fearing the Russian hackers, and that's true to a maybe more of a tactical or short-term perspective. But in the bigger picture, I think IT tools, just like IT itself, kind of the interoperable stack, being international and collaborative by nature, right? Moving not only data, but information and knowledge and wisdom across borders, right? So that's where Ukraine is going to do much better than Russia, right? With a democratic, collaborative approach to IT and IT security and computer hacking that an autocratic government or a dictatorship will find very difficult to pull off. They can do some attacks, but ultimately and strategically, IT doesn't really look like a dictatorship or autocracy. I think it's much more collaborative in nature, and I think Ukraine we're seeing that in reality, and I think it portends well for Ukraine for the future.
To be honest, everyone, for the final question of the discussion, I had something about what to expect, what are the next steps for defense, for offense, what you can recommend. But after the talking, a few messages that you also cannot mention regarding that, we already saw everything that Russia can do on the cyber front. In Moscow, they don't know what to do next. They don't know what to do, not only next in Moscow, but in eastern and southern Ukraine. Still, the new question I want to ask you, every one of you, is why Russia is so overestimated worldwide. We saw the messages recently from one of the German generals that Russia has capacity to open the second front in Baltic countries. They can do this, they can do that. So after all what is happening in Ukraine, after the fact that for the more than half a year the invasion is still ongoing, Ukraine counter-offensive measures are giving back us our cities, our land, our cyber measures are on defense and offense are really great. Not any city is destroyed from, let's say, cyber perspective. So maybe it's more Kenneth for you, but I want to ask this everyone. Why do you think they are still overestimated? Why they're still being afraid of?
I can say first, the portfolio of Russia in terms of cyber war is as complete as any particular analysis or case study, right? So in the 1980s, we have maybe the best book on this topic called The Cuckoo's Egg, right? And it's a University of California astronomer, and he's tasked with IT security temporarily at the University of California, Berkeley. And he literally takes a 50-cent accounting error and chases it all the way back to the KGB, right? Conducting a strategic intelligence gathering effort against the United States. In 1990s, the largest, United States counterintelligence investigation called Moonlight Maze was absolutely focused on the Russian computer network operations threat against the United States. And then we had Chechnya and the battles between Russian intelligence and fighters on the ground there. We had Estonia, we had Georgia, we had Ukraine. And so really Russia presents the largest body of evidence and anecdotes and case studies for us to analyze. And so, and it is quite real, I think, when you see the audacity of some of the hacks, and again, not just in Ukraine, but in the US election, for example, in 2016, that was a brazen attack that one might not think that a country would attempt, right, to put the wrong person into the White House, and yet that's exactly what happened. And so I think our fear of Russian hackers doesn't just relate to capabilities, but its intent and motivation, demonstrated desire and willingness to try and pull off a strategic and politically very damaging attacks that are out of line with what you would expect in international norms and international relations. In fact, the United States didn't know what to do in 2016. And we know now that President Obama, who could see the Russian hackers, he had the intelligence, simply didn't know what to do.
Okay, got you. Mykhaylo, Andriy, maybe you have some thoughts here to share.
Yes, I briefly, so Russia do a lot based on fakes. So they told about fake history, they provided fake army, that what today we see. And so they try to build this ecosystem based on fakes, and in order to people believe in this. And so I propose that so we to take another approach, because we because it's their fake. So we have to think about become stronger from our side, because we have to aware it's really quite important that Russia every time will be a source of threat, and so it's only one way. Don't think about them, but become more stronger and stronger together with that countries who support us, and so we really do things for this, and so together to build like a new, that what we see right now, that in these times nowadays build like a new ecosystem of like countries who build new maybe some new unities, because some unities today what we see doesn't work, and so it's also time of new approaches and new heroes.
Thank you. Mykhaylo?
Yeah, when I'm analyzing it like from historical perspective, I see that Russian Empire, for instance, stays for almost 200 years. After that, we have smaller amount of country, and it stays as USSR for 70 years. Now, part of Russian Empire, part of USSR, I hope it will stay for 20-something years, and will also like spreading to smaller countries, since, as you said, it always based on lie. So everything that I saw in their, official communication, it's completely not truth, lie, and they take wrong things and say that this is right, and for right things say that this is wrong. And I truly believe, when I was reading, biography of Catherine II and another Russian Empire dictators, SSSR, and so on. So it's completely the same strategy as now. So they're trying to kill Ukrainians, they're trying to kill culture and to make everything Russians. It will not work for sure. And we can see, our generation can see that that evil will be destroyed. And I fully agree that we should spend much more time, resources to cultivate our culture and do not allow that pro-Russian waves just occupying our government and so on that was after USSR. And that's I believe probably why Russia was so brave and expected to take all Ukraine within 3 days or so, since they know that there are a lot of people in our government spied by Russia, but after 2014 we become stronger, and I believe this fight will make all us stronger. This is not about Ukraine. This is about all Europe and all world survival. They will not stop here in case they won. They will not win. And that's why all world helping Ukraine, and this is not just help to Ukraine, you are helping yourselves as well. Since they will not stop, they were taking people from occupied territory, what we can see, and say, you die or you will fight against our enemies. So that's why we should win that war, and I see that we are definitely will win. And this is also about cybersphere. So we should build more mature, more complex cybersecurity operations center in Ukraine, protecting our critical infrastructure, nuclear stations, city centers, and so on. So we should spend more. And I believe our IT company and United States, European countries will also help us. And they are helping Canada, USA, Europe, helping with their resources, licenses, specialists that helping us, our government institution, to build right security. That's something we should consider in future, and just do not live as is level. So just to become more mature, to have that evaluations, regular pen testing, regular right processes with certification. That's something we should do after the war, and we actually starting to do it right now.
Yeah, absolutely agree from my side. Thanks, Mykhaylo. Thanks everyone for being with us today. So as I mentioned at the beginning, this is the last talk of the online streams for IT Arena this year, and we're moving on to the IT Arena 2022 conference at the end of September. Please visit the website atarena.ua for more details, and to remind you that Mr. Kenneth Geers will be joining our conference, our cybersecurity panel, to discuss even more deeply what is going on and what is happening. Because sorry for everyone who expected a lot of cybersecurity content today, but the timeline, believing, dictates that we move to philosophy sometimes and discuss things on more higher level, let's say like that. I want to thank you, Kenneth, Mykhaylo, and Andriy, for joining me today, for giving your thoughts and insights on how you see this cyber war. And let's meet again this year at IT Arena. Stay safe, and the recording of this stream will be available at IT Arena YouTube in a few minutes, so you can rewatch it whenever you want. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice evening, and bye-bye.
Bye.
You.